Jeff, one of the more surprising slides, maybe not surprising to you, but that has been sort of like prognosticated in the media, is Shedeur Sanders. He fell out of the first round. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not. And I've said this all along on Twitter. One, and I can't make this any more clear than I already have. Um, I am a fan of Shedeur. I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. You know, I don't mind the bravado. I want my quarterback to have that kind of ego, right? Like I don't need my quarterback to be a ho hum kind of guy. You know, that is the premier position in all of North American sports. I don't care what league you're talking about. The NFL quarterback is the premier position, and I need my guy to be a premier guy, right? I don't mind the flash. I don't mind the sub. Like I don't mind all of those things. The issue with Shedeur is twofold. One, his father. Okay, we all love Prime. I may not love him as much as some people here in Atlanta do, right? Like people in Atlanta love to talk about how he's the best, the best Atlanta Falcons player of all time. You not a fucking chance. To me, you don't get to be crowned the best player in franchise history when you willfully walked away from that franchise, right? So sorry, he walked away, didn't want to be here. You lose all that comes along with that, right? The media loves to kiss his ass. Why? We saw it in Colorado this year. If Dion is upset at you as a media person, he pulls your credential. We watched him do it twice. So the media wants to have access to Prime, Coach Prime. So for that reason, that's a big reason for me that NFL teams don't want to. NFL owners, GMs, and coaches don't want to deal with that nonsense. And think about it: who is the only head coach that Shedeur's ever had?
His
His
dad.
dad has literally been his head coach from the time he was 6 years old and took over a Pee Wee practice. High school, college, both stops, junior, like all of it, Prime has been his head coach. There is a fear among NFL coaches that dad is still going to be in his ear behind closed doors, fighting a battle that teams are not willing to fight. Because, yes, is he talented? Of course he is. Does he have some issues? Of course he does. There is not a perfect quarterback that has been drafted, so probably Andrew Luck, if we're being honest, right? Like every quarterback since Andrew Luck has had a lot of issues. And Shador is definitely not one of those that is perfect. He holds onto the ball too long, doesn't quite read a defense all that well, uh, makes really bad reads at times. Hasn't really shown, he lost. He talks about all the winning he did in college, but ultimately he lost the three biggest games of his career. He lost both Celebration Bowls, which, if you're unfamiliar, is the Black National Championship for HBCUs. Lost both of those games when they were highly favored, and then got his ass beat by a bunch of 30-year-olds at BYU in the Alamo Bowl. Right, so the three biggest biggest games of his career, he went 0 for 3. And again, I'm not knocking on him, but the dude talks about all the winning he did. Well, let's talk about losing the three biggest games yet. So look, I am not shocked. They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with that nonsense. He comes with a lot of baggage, and like the Ball brothers in the NBA, it's not all his fault. But unfortunately, NFL coaches and GMs and owners aren't like the NBA owners, coaches, and GMs who are willing to put up with that nonsense. They're just simply not willing to do it. And by the way, he may not even be the first quarterback off the board today. Think about that for a minute. He may not be the first quarterback off the board today. And that's but again, that just comes back to what we talked about when we opened up this episode. Guys the media like are not necessarily the guys the teams like. And media and teams don't often bridge that, which is why you always have to be careful when guys say, well, my sources told me they're going here. How many times are those guys correct?
It's exactly why the media, for example, loves someone like Dallas Turner. So Minnesota goes and picks him at 22, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, crazy value. He should have gone to Atlanta at 8. Well, no, he shouldn't have, because they're obviously on Latu. That's what you guys thought along. It's when the mainstream and the teams don't align, the insiders get pissed because they want to know and they want to construct the narrative. Had we tipped our hand to, let's say, Ian Rappaport and said, hey, Ian, we're talking to Sean McVay right now. We're going to come up. Can you put a positive spin on this? All of a sudden, the tone is completely different. It's when they get caught off guard, everyone's just talking shit.
Because they don't actually know the game they cover, right? And that's the key to this is these guys like Adam Schefter's, like the Ian Rappaport's, they don't know the game they cover. So when you catch them off guard, it's automatically a negative connotation because you bypass their gatekeeping and they can't fucking stand it. That's the truth about all of this, right? If Atlanta had, like you said, if Atlanta had called Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport and said, hey, we're dealing with the Rams right now, here's what we're going to do, and gotten the ESPN seal of approval, I promise you $1 million fucking that would have been an A+ or an A- rating on their website within 30 minutes. Absolutely 100%. Would have been. And by the way, just real quick, shout out to Craig following along on live chat. He did call me out. I was wrong. We only do have one pick today. You picked 118 is the 4th round. Obviously, that is the 1st round tomorrow. Shout out to you for that. My apologies.
Yeah, but I mean, your point still stands. You could package 101 and 118 and maybe slip up
100%.
in the second.